Hello students. Today we'll discuss about hardware elements of control system. Now, hardware element of a control system comprises of 7 components. Now these components are: first, the chemical process, the measuring element, transducers, transmission lines, controller, final controlling element, and the recording elements. Now, chemical process is a process which will be on which the control system is to be applied. That is your chemical process. It can be a stir tank reactor, it can be your CSTR, it can be your distillation column, it can be your heat exchanger, it can be anything which basically represents a material equipment together with the physical and chemical operations that is occurring. That is a chemical process. Measuring instruments. Now measuring instruments are the instruments which used to measure the disturbance, the controlled variables, the output variables, or even the manipulated variables, like thermocouples for temperature, thermometers, there can be flow meters, there can be Venturi meters, gas chromatography. All these terms are termed as measuring instruments. Transducers. Now transducers, there are certain measurements which cannot be used for control until they are converted to some physical quantity, which can then be transmitted easily further. So transducers are used for that purpose. For example, the strain gauge. They are basically the metallic conductors whose electric resistance changes when they are subjected to certain mechanical strain. So thus they can be used to convert the pressure signal into the electric signals. So these are transducers. These are the work of a transducers. Fourth is the transmission lines. The transmission lines basically carries the signal from the measurements from the measured variables to your controllers. So these are the transmission lines. Like in the for example, in this figure, if you see all those red dotted lines, they are the transmission lines. They are basically taking the signals from the controller towards the the valves. That is the final controlling elements. Fifth is the controller. Now controller, as we have previously discussed in previous lectures, controller is basically an artificial intelligence which decides whether to increase the flow rate or to decrease the flow rate, whether to increase the coolant flow rate or to decrease the coolant flow rate, depending upon the measured value, depending upon the desired, depending upon the comparison between the measured value and the desired value. So it's basically an artificial intelligence part of the control system. It actually receives the signal from the measuring devices and decides the action, what is to be done. Now that action is implemented by the sixth hardware element, that is final controlling element. So final controlling element is that hardware that implements in real life the decision taken by the controller. For example, if the controller decides that the flow rate of the outlet stream should be increased in order to keep the liquid level in the tank at a desired height, so then it's the valve, that is the final controlling element, the valve, it has to implement that decision. Clear? So that valve becomes the final controlling element. Now if you look at this figure over here, let's say LC represents the liquid level controller. Now the liquid level controller decides the outlet flow rate to be increased or decreased. So that decision by the controller is implemented by the valve which is there at the outlet. Seventh is the recording elements. Now recording elements are basically the elements which provides the visual demonstration of how a chemical process is behaving. For example, various type of recorders like temperature recorder is there, pressure recorder is there, flow recorder is there, or composition analyzers are there, which can be seen in a control room where a continuous monitoring of the behavior of the process is visualized. That is the recording element. Now if you look at this example over here, now this is an example of a simple liquid level tank where there is an input represented by FITI and there is the output. If you see on the right hand side of this picture, the right hand side shows a controller which is actually controlling the liquid level by controlling the outlet flow rate, and if you see on the on the left hand side, there is another control system which is actually controlling the temperature of the liquid in the tank. So this is the combination of both feedback controller configurations, which is actually it's a MIMO problem. We are controlling the liquid level along with the temperature of the tank, temperature of the liquid in the tank. If you see on the right hand side, we have used a differential pressure cell. Differential pressure cell basically measures the liquid level height in the tank. It produces the signal, and that signal is being recorded using the liquid level recorder, which is actually giving you the timely variation of the liquid in the tank. Now that signal goes into the controller. We have already set the desired value, that is HS. Then the controller decides some action. Now that action is implemented by the control valve, which is there at the outlet. So if you see, the transmission lines are basically the signal carriers, which carries the signal from the measured value towards the controller and from the controller towards the control valve. If you see on the left hand side, the thermocouple measures the temperature of the liquid in the tank. That signal goes into the controller. Now you can put the temperature recorder, which is basically giving you the timely variation of the temperature of the liquid in the tank. Now the controller takes that measured value, compares with the desired value, decides some action, and that action is implemented by the control valve, which is there at the coolant, in the coolant line. So the transmission lines are represented by the dotted lines. We have the controllers and we have the final controlling elements. So this is basically a feedback controller system. So there are two feedback controller systems simultaneously working on this stir tank reactor. Now moving further, there are certain measuring devices which can be used for different variables. Like for example, for temperature, thermocouples can be used. There can be thermometers. There can be filled system thermometer. Filled system thermometers can be your mercury thermometer or some alcohol thermometers. Then we have radiation pyrometers and oscillating quartz crystal thermometers, which are used for high temperature measurement. Then for pressure measuring, we can use manometers, we can use Bell elements, we can use diaphragm, we can use strain gauges, we can use piezoresistive elements and piezoelectric elements. Now piezoresistive and piezoelectric are basically the transducers, which can take the pressure signal and convert it to some electric signal, which can further be used for further calculations. Then is the flow meters. Flow variables can be measured using orifice meter, venturi flow nozzles, Dahl flow tubes, Kensen flow nozzles, and turbine flow meters. Now liquid levels can be used by float actuated devices, dispenser devices, liquid head pressure systems like the differential pressure cell, which I've shown in your previous example. Conductivity measures, dielectric measurements, and sonic resonance can be used to measure if there are heterogeneous systems in the liquid level. For composition, there can be different measuring devices, chromatography analyzers, infrared analyzers. We can have your potentiometer, conductivity meter, oximeter, pH meters, spectrometers, and then we have differential thermal analyzers. So all these are the measuring devices which can be used to measure different types of variables. Can be pressure, temperature, flow, liquid level, and composition. These are some of the basic variables which can easily be measured. Moving further, Then comes the controller. Now what is a controller? Now as told, controller is that brain of a control system which decides what is to be done next. So controller is comprises of these three components, that is transducer, the controller itself, and the converter. Now what does a transducer and a converter does? The transducer basically takes the measured value, it converts that actuating signal. Actuating signal is the actual signal which you are getting from the measured device. Convert that actuating signal into some electric signal, that is the current. Now the controller takes that current with the help of a controller algorithm, produces another output in the terms of the current only. Now that current is taken by the accepted by the converter. The converter converts that electric signal into some physical mechanical signal. Now that then mechanical signal is fed into your final controlling element, that is control valve. So that control valve takes that mechanical signal and try to implement on the flow rate of the output. So basically the controller is nothing but it's the sum of all these three things, that is transducer, the controller algorithm, and the converter. I'll explain with the help of this example. Now if you see in this example, we have a heat exchanger where the cold stream is being heated with the help of a hot stream so as to get the desired output at a high temperature. Now so our aim of the heat exchanger is to have an outlet at a high temperature. Now in order to achieve that objective, we measured the output using the thermocouples. Now that thermocouple signal measured value of the temperature is fed into the transducer. Now where that transducer converts the temperature signal into the current signal. Now normally the current signal from the transducer is in the range of 4 to 20 milliamperes. That signal of the transducer is fed into the computer where we have implemented the controller algorithm. Now that computer compares the signal with the set point and produces the output in terms of current only. Now there are different types of controller algorithms which we'll discuss in the coming lectures. Normally these are of 4 categories. One is the proportional controller, proportional integral controller, proportional derivative controller, and proportional integral derivative controller. I'll briefly explain what is proportional controller. Now the controller compares the inputs, the measured value with the desired value. It produces an error. Now that error is represented over here as epsilon. Now the error proportional means whatever the difference of the error, that will become the decision value for the final controlling element. Clear? So proportional controller means proportionately to the error value, error difference, error signal. Now that error signal of the controller in terms of current is fed into the converter, now which converts the current into the pressure. Now this pressure signal is normally in the terms of 3 to 15 psi of air, which is then fed into the final controlling element over here. That final controlling element is the valve. Now the pressure signal on the valve decides how much hot stream has to enter into this heat exchanger. So this is how a controller system works. Measuring signal is fed into the controller. Controller compares the measured value with the set value, gave you an error. That corresponding to an error, the controller algorithm works, decides an output. That output is further implemented by the final controlling element. Now let's look at your final controlling element. Now final controlling element is that hardware which basically implements the controller decision. The most common final controlling element is the pneumatic valve. This is basically an air operated valve which controls the flow through an orifice by positioning appropriately the plug. If you look at this figure, figure A, in figure A, there is an air which is coming from up. It puts the pressure on the diaphragm, and diaphragm, which is attached with the spring, pushes the plug in the downward direction. Now, as the plug moves down, it will cut the inlet flow rate to the outlet. So this is called air to close type of pneumatic valve. If you see figure B, the air puts the pressure on the diaphragm, and as the diaphragm moves in the downward direction, the plug moves downward and the flow have a space to flow out. So hence this type of pneumatic valve is known as air to open. Now suppose if the air supply on the diaphragm is lost, the valve will become fail open, because then the spring will push the stem and the plug in the upward direction. So figure A, if in a figure A, if the air is lost, it becomes fail open, and in figure B, if the air is lost, it becomes the fail closed. So the both are in the opposite direction. Both working of the pneumatic valves are in the opposite direction for both air to open and air to close. They are both opposite in action with each other. Now, depending upon the shape of the plug, there are different types of pneumatic valves, and these pneumatic valves then decides how the flow rate works. We have a simple control valve flow characteristic. If you see on the y-axis, we have the percentage of flow, that is the outlet flow rate, and the stem positioning, opening. Now suppose if the type of plug is of square root nature, then the flow rate, outlet flow rate, will be having an square root of the stem position. And then if you see in the graph, let's talk about first the linear. Linear means a straight line. The more you open, the more you have the flow rate. So flow rate and the stem position are having a linear relation with each other. Similarly, your equal percentage, quick opening, we have a square root, then we have modified parabolic and hyperbolic. So the stem opening, which is X, and the flow rate, so depending upon the type of plug, what type of plug you are using, either square root type of plug, linear plug, or equal percentage plug, or hyperbolic or quick opening, they will decide what type of flow you have at the outlet. So this is the correct flow characteristic curve of a control valve. Now this is the final overall block diagram of your control system. Again, it comprises of 4 units. One is the process, that is on where you are applying your control system. From that process, we have a controlled variable. Let's, for example, over here the temperature, we need to control the temperature, so temperature becomes the controlled variable. So that controlled variable is measured with the help of measuring element. It produces a signal Tm. Now that Tm goes into this comparator. Now comparator is nothing, it's a comparison comparator where you compare the measured value with the set value. Let's suppose the set value is Tr. So comparator compares the set value with the measured value, produces an error. Now that error goes into the controller, where using the controller algorithm, either proportional or proportional integral or proportional derivative or proportional integral derivative, the controller decides what action is to be implemented, and that action is further implemented by the final controlling element. Now in this Ti basically is the input temperature to the process, which is your disturbance. Disturbance is also represented either in terms of load. So disturbance enters into the process, disturbs the output temperature, it's measured, compared with the set value, controller decides what action is to be done, then the final controlling element takes the action of the controller. So this is the complete mechanism of how all the hardware elements of a control system they work. As far as the algorithm of the controller systems is concerned, we'll discuss further how they work, basically how proportional action works, how proportional integral action takes, how proportional derivative action works, and how proportional integral derivative works, and obviously their behavior are very different from each other. So that is very important, we'll discuss in the further lectures. So if you find any doubt in this lecture, feel free to contact me at this email ID. Thank you so much.